Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century.
Welcome back to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone. I'm your host, Cindy Murray, and we are here with episode 10 of our second season. Can you believe we are 10 episodes in to our second season? Wow.
Seems like yesterday.
And I'm here with Amber and Kristen, my co-host, and did I say I'm Cindy Murray? I hope I did.
Now you did. Cindy. Now you did.
So it's great to be here. I'm so excited. We're having so much fun with this podcast, and I really want to thank you guys for coming back week after week, because we're here because you listen, and we love sharing our stories with you guys. And I'm so glad that you're here and that we have this conversation. And today we're kind of heading in a different area. I'm going to preface this by saying that this all started as a creative writing prompt. A couple of years ago,
You mean this episode?
This episode,
Okay.
Yeah, the topic of this episode started as a creative writing prompt. And I wanted to get back into my creative writing, something I had not done in 20 years, probably. I used to love to write, and in fact, at one point in time, I thought I wanted to be a novelist, and I just kind of slowly gave up writing. I don't even know why, but I wanted to get back into writing. And I joined an Allie Edwards class called Just Write, where she would give us a prompt and she would kind of give us some coaching, I guess, to write. These were not fictional writing. It's really more about telling the stories of our lives. And so she would use common themes, common words as the prompt. And then the idea was for you to take that word and find stories within your life to tell the story of your life. So the topic of this particular class assignment was cup. And I wound up writing an essay that for me felt very profound, because it kind of fit in with some things that I was thinking about and going through at the time. And so we're kind of taking a departure with this today. What I'm going to do, if you read the blog post on Monday, I actually posted this essay that I wrote back in 2019. And I'm going to read it aloud today, and then we're going to start a discussion based on my essay. And so we don't even know where this is really going to go. We just it's kind of like the creative writing prompt. It's just going to go wherever it organically decides to go. So here today is my essay from August of 2019, titled Cups. When you were a child, did you fill your glass to the brim so that it was too full and you couldn't move it without spilling? Did it seem terribly important to get those extra few sips into the cup, as if you might not have another glass of milk for a long time? Do you still do that today? I do. I can close my eyes and reflect on how many times I've tiptoed from the kitchen to my desk with a full cup of coffee sloshing against the brim, feeling the dribbles of sweet, creamy deliciousness trickling over my fingers, which I then lick off when I get back to my seat. Once I'm settled in, I take a big sip and savor the rich, warm mouthful, and I feel like it's worth the extra effort I took just to get it there. Sometimes I walk just a little too fast, or I turn the corner into my studio too jerkily, and a splash of that sumptuous goodness will slosh over the side, splatting on the floor, or even my clothes and shoes. I'm in such a hurry to get back to my routine that I forget how precious each little drop is, and instead waste it on a floor that has to be mopped, or clothes that now have to be changed and washed. I'm always disappointed when that happens, and it takes me away from both my planned work and the fulfillment of that first heavenly sip, because not only have I lost one precious sip, but by the time the mess is cleaned up, the coffee is no longer at the ideal temperature to evaporate on my tongue. That moment of sweet and savory satisfaction is gone. I've tried different things to combat the problem, but it always ends up the same. I've used a bigger cup in the mistaken belief that I will be satisfied with the same amount of coffee. But no, the cup just gets fuller and fuller, as if that extra inch or two of space below the rim is just begging to be filled, either with more coffee or more likely with more creamer. Pretty soon, I have the same problem, but with a bigger cup. It's as if the liquid delight magically expands to fill the space it's in. I think we sometimes have that same mentality in other areas of our lives. Our cups are full to overflowing, filled with activities, wants, needs, and whatever we can use to fill the space. We can't enjoy our pursuits without a little bit spilling out the sides and being wasted now and then. My daughter and I were discussing this very thing a few days ago. She had read an article about people who are perpetually late, which of course we both are. The report postulated that being late wasn't a symptom of someone with poor time management skills, but rather a personality trait of someone who can't be bothered to wait. Late people can't stand to do nothing or to kill time. Rather than waste that little bit of extra time waiting for the meeting to start or the doctor's office to open, we fill the available space with as much activity as we can. And sometimes, most of the time, it backfires on us by overflowing into other activities, disrupting our plans and throwing everything off. I'm completely guilty of this. I schedule so many must-dos into each day that there's no possible way to get them all done. I arrive at every appointment at least 5 minutes late, and I can never seem to get where I'm going without running back into the house to pick up this, that, or the other that I left behind. I do it with my budget, seeing an extra $5 on my spreadsheet and thinking to myself, ooh, now I can get that. Whatever it is that I think I need that winds up overdrawing my bank account because I forgot about that auto charge that hadn't gone through yet. I even do it with food. I'll order too much or I'll fill my plate too full just in case what I want doesn't fill me up. I'm so blinded by the potential of what I could put into my cup that I forget to stop and ask myself if I should. And honestly, most of the time I shouldn't. Selecting simplify as my one little word this year has been both a blessing and a curse. It's definitely an area I need to work on, and it has proven to be quite the challenge. The only way I can truly simplify is to stop putting so much into the cup, to let there be empty spaces in my activities, in my time, in my heart. Only then can I begin to embrace the idea that less is more, that I don't have to fill all the available space, and that what I have is truly enough.
Thanks for reading that.
Wow, that was great.
I know, I love it. It reminds me, I am your daughter, who reminds me a lot of myself. In so many ways, and there's so many things where I wanted to say, "Oh, that's so me," I think we can all relate to, trying to stuff as much into our day even, with buying things too, we can all relate to like that want for more, the desire to have all of it, or you know the bigger your house is, the more things you put in it. That cup is a metaphor for a lot of things in our lives. And the one that really has stood out to me is, if you think about the cup as your day, your 24-hour day, every person needs sleep, right? You have to have so much sleep every day. That you talk about the empty space in your cup, it always gets full, and leaving a spot there for nothing, but it's really not nothing. It is something. There's always something there. The empty space serves a purpose. And when you think about in your daytime, for me, I struggle with forcing myself to go to sleep at nighttime. I just keep trying to do one more thing,
Me too. Me too.
I'm totally there with you.
My cup is my coffee, and my cup is really like all the activities that I try to force myself to do, and that little empty space that you leave to keep things from overflowing is my sleep. And that, I think I deprive myself of that empty space that is necessary to keep my cup from spilling everywhere, because you have to have good rest in order to recharge yourself every day. And
I agree. And I rob myself of sleep also, and downtime. There's always so much work to be done, and the house needs to be cleaned. And do you think that women are more guilty of this than men are?
Definitely.
I feel like we are. And maybe some of you male listeners can chime in on the conversation. I would be interested to know if any of you do this too.
Yeah.
Can you relate to that? I know my husband can, to a certain extent, because last year he did a 365 project. So in case those of you don't know, my husband, Mark Murray, is also known as Borg Billy or Sonic Biscuit. And he is a musician and a recording engineer. And he spent last year doing a 365 project where he composed, performed, recorded, and posted a song a day, or a track a day, as he liked to call it, every day for the entire year. And it started out, as this, it was a goal for him and a creative challenge, obviously, but I don't think he knew what kind of toll it was going to take on him. By the end of the year, he was flat out exhausted, because a lot of times he would be up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning trying to get that track done. He really did rob himself of sleep. Now, it was a phenomenally successful project, and I won't go into that here, but if you're interested, I will link information about that over on the blog. He's really a great musician, but so I know that he did rob himself of sleep like that. He tried to cram a lot in there because he was working full time. He was also developing Creative Audio Tech, which is the musical entity that he did that created our theme music, which you hear on the podcast every week. And he, as an audio engineer, he has also advised us and assisted us with our audio engineering issues. So, I do know that he robbed himself of some of that sleep because he was doing all those things. He was also a Boy Scout leader. He also has a fitness routine, and we were taking care of a friend of ours who had cancer. So, it did take its toll, but he filled his life. He filled his cup with all those things. But I don't know a lot of men who do. And the reason I ask if you think it's a female thing is because I think as women, We have been kind of brainwashed since the women's liberation in the 60s to believe that women can have it all.
We can have the stay-at-home life and the work life, and full house full of kids and bustling family full of activities and crafts and all the things, girl time, that we do. I do think that we all are a little bit more prone to doing that. I wonder if that's that hunter-gatherer thing. A lot of times we have discussions when we talk about like men versus women and their differences. A lot of things bring it down to the hunter-gatherer.
Right. And men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah. But if you think about for a gatherer, say for instance you have your cup or your apron or whatever it is that you're carrying, and you're out there gathering, nuts and berries away from your tribe, small way away. You're going to want to fill that up as much as you can, because you don't want to have to go back and then go back again. I think women sometimes use that left side of the brain that says, well, if I can do this all at one time, it'll be more efficient, or let me multitask, or let me buy 2 for 1, and I'll figure out where to stick this extra giant pack of paper towels, in my house. And then it becomes another thing and another thing. And, we end up having 20 bathroom towels, so that we don't have to wash laundry 15 times a week. It's the little things like that. And I think, that we just continually try to optimize until it's too much. I mean, at what point does your optimization become a hindrance?
Right.
Well,
and I think part of it comes, like I said, I think we've been brainwashed to think that we're supposed to have it all. We're supposed to want it all. And is that a part of us thinking that, men just work and come home and they're not really the nurturers or the whatever, but we are the perfect nurturers, is that, and we're going back to the ego, and Eckhart Tolle, and we may talk about that a little bit, in our next episode, but, the fact that we need to prove to the world that we can be the perfect employee, the perfect mother, the perfect wife. And in order to do that, we have to just put more. And is it also a product of our consumerist society that we want more? The media teaches us that we want more. We watch people on TV who seem to have it all. Our heroes are on TV shows or whatever, that they are working women who have great jobs and fulfilling relationships and
clean, organized homes.
Yes, and all these things. And so we're very much conditioned to expect that and want that out of our lives. And I'm going to be the first to say that I think it's impossible. I don't think we are humanly capable of having it all. And I say that from the standpoint of someone who did work outside the home when I had children at home. And then I quit working outside the home and stayed home to raise my children, and saw the profound difference in my children's lives when I stayed home with them to raise them. Mm-hmm. And even now, having multiple businesses and multiple endeavors and no children at home, I find it very difficult to do all the things I need to do. And again, my sleep suffers for it. My mental state suffers for it. I find myself stressed out, and I sit here and I watch Amber, who's been trying to do all these things. She has a very complicated job where it's not just teachers obviously do not just teach during the school day. They have after school activities and spelling bees that they run and things like that. And she's like almost falling asleep while we're trying to do things, because she is just so exhausted. And she's also giving time to her boyfriend and things like that. And she's single and she doesn't even have children, and it's too much. So, and I watch Kristen, who has a young family, and she has a house to clean and 3 dogs and a child and a job, a demanding job. And she's doing Modern Musings, which requires us to spend time recording. We have to spend time writing the blogs. We work on the social media and the graphics and things like that. So,
and then there's other hobbies and things that I like to do.
Because she likes to scrapbook and quilt and things like that. Yeah. And I'm just like, how the heck do you do it?
Hobbies, what are those?
When I worked...
I am your hobby, Amber.
y'all are my hobby. I don't have a hobby. I don't have a life. I am a slave.
But I think that's the sacrifice that we all choose to make, that little free space. What are we willing? I can add this extra hobby on, or this extra thing that I'm going to volunteer to sign up for, and it may spill over the side of the cup. Hopefully no one notices.
Right. Well, and sometimes things do, it's not just the sleep that slips. Sometimes the dishes don't get washed, or the laundry sits in the basket on the...
Or you forget to pay a bill, or...
So things
late
slip,
to work. Those
you make that ugly
slip.
splash, and sometimes it's dirty. And sometimes it's really ugly.
Yeah.
Is it normal? Did those kind of things happen to people before? I'm like thinking back before the internet, before the internet, before women's liberation, when women were just working at home and taking care of their children. Did women forget? Oh God, I gotta bake those cakes for the bake sale. I didn't do it. Oh no, what am I going to do? Did those things happen? Did June Cleaver have those kinds of problems? Or is that a modern problem of this society that we live in, and that desire to have it all, and the perfect life, the perfect female, the perfect, or male. I don't want to exclude our male listeners out there, because, there's, like I said, my husband was one of them, and he had a lot of things going on. Still does, always. But we miss out on a lot of sleep, and we forget to do things, and sometimes the gutters don't get cleaned out on the house, or the yard doesn't get mowed because we're busy. And I don't know how much of that happened before, or if it's just this society that we're in. What do you guys?
Our busybody society. I feel like the older I get, the bigger my cup gets, and the more I put in it. It's just like the house analogy. The bigger your house is, the more stuff you pile in it. Every time I find a moment of free time, I fill it with something. And that's that whole thing about being late all the time. It's the same problem that I've always had that problem. And maybe because I do, struggle with some ADD. Sometimes, mental health can be your cup that overflows too. Letting, your obsessive compulsive disorder start to take a run with your life, or, if you're bottling up emotions and your cup's going to overflow, you have to have room in there.
Right. You have to decompress.
Yeah.
Because that pressure just builds and builds and builds. Yeah.
Amber, have you ever had a time in your life where you felt like your cup was full?
All summer. I mean, other than the fact that I was moving, because it took all summer. But off aside from that, all of my friends, family, where they were all busy doing their own thing, and I really didn't have much to do over the summer, and I was bored.
Mm-hmm.
And
A teacher's
now,
summer.
yeah, and now I am closer in to the end of the school year. State testing's coming, things are starting to pick up, and you know, aside from that, I've got my own personal life. I've got family, my grandma. I've got different things, and my cup is definitely overflowing. So sometimes I miss back to last summer when I was like, man, I wish for those days that, all I had to do was move some boxes, unpack some boxes, and then I could go do what I wanted to.
You got a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
You signed up for more things this year with extra school stuff.
I really didn't. I have about the same thing every year, maybe.
Well, your after school thing.
Yeah, my after school thing. But like, I think I don't really know because I have like different things going on in my life than
it's a new year for you this year.
Than I did before. So it's sometimes hard to navigate that, like the changes that have happened.
So you actually have to keep in your scenario, your life, you have a cup that's only like halfway full, so you could be more fluid in a sense. You can make room for whatever comes at you. You go on a date or have something fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're talking about your summer and how you were bored, and it makes.
I mean, I was still busy, but I was still.
But
mentally maybe bored.
Right. When I was younger, like when Kristen was a baby, I was a stay-at-home mom at that time, and we're talking the early '80s. So, we lived in a small town. I did not have a telephone. We did not have a phone at our house, and we had one car between me and my husband, and he took it to go to work. So I was at home all day, every day. I was at home by myself with the child, nobody to talk to, and I literally was bored out of my mind. I mean, I loved being a mom, but there's only so much going on. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I had some hobbies. I did crochet. I watched TV. I liked to sing, things like that. I cleaned my house, but I was bored, and I actually went to work when I actually before I got divorced. I started working, and I decided that I just couldn't be a stay-at-home mom because there wasn't enough to fulfill me, and so I started working at that point, and I vowed that I would not ever be at that point where I was bored ever again. So when my son was getting ready to graduate, and I actually did become a stay-at-home mom again, but I filled my life with things with my children because by then they were involved with school. I did PTA. I was on the booster clubs. I did all those things to keep myself from being bored. And I was still doing a lot of hobbies, scrapbooking, crochet, things like that. So when my son was about to graduate, I was afraid that I would be bored after he graduated because I wouldn't have booster clubs and Boy Scouts. And, I wasn't that involved with the Boy Scouts at that point, but I had been. But I was just really afraid I was going to be bored. And that was what prompted me to start my travel agency because I was afraid I would be bored. And I haven't been bored a day since then or any of the days before when I was raising my children. It was only those formative years for Kristen when we were in this, trailer house with no phone and no car and all that. But I think part of my filling my cup has been that fear of being bored. And I need those challenges. I need that mental stimulation.
That's interesting that you bring that up, that you're filling your cup in fear. In what do you call that? Not necessity, but scarcity.
It's a scarcity thing.
Mindset. That kind of brings back to like putting too much food on your plate or over ordering.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffer from that
because
of
I
overeating
talk about
disorders
that
because of scarcity
in
mindset.
In the essay that
yeah.
I will go to a restaurant and I can't decide whether I want the enchilada or the tacos. So I order the big platter that has both, because what if I get the enchilada and it doesn't taste good? Or what if I get the taco and it's not enough? And so I will often over order at the restaurant or wherever because I'm afraid there won't be enough. And it's a scarcity thing, but it's still that filling the cup.
I've done that too.
And that, we do that with everything. I do that with my budget. I do that with my time. I do that with whatever. And exactly. I've even done it with sleep, oddly enough. And, I short myself on sleep, but then I'll also oversleep because this may be the only chance I get to sleep. And so it's kind of a weird thing. There's so many things that you could apply that to, that we fill ourselves up with all these things. And in the essay, I talk about how simplifying was my word of the year, and that it was really supposed to be about eliminating all those extra things. I don't think I did a very good job of that. Actually,
I'm rolling my eyes at you
because
I think you added more things.
I did add more things, and I think Kristen has talked about that with her word of the year too. That her word was less, and that sometimes
it brought more.
Less, it brought more. But it is trying to open up that space and let that space just be there,
and be okay with it, and understand how important it is.
Yeah, it's really a cushion of time, allowing yourself that extra time going into the doctor's appointment or whatever is really a protection to allow for things to change. Because if you give yourself that extra time before the appointment, in case there's traffic and you're late, or in case you need to quickly stop at the gas station and fill up with gas. Allowing that space, that scheduling space in your time, allows for mishaps to happen and things to change, or a different route. Maybe there's traffic on the way to the doctor's office and you have to go a longer way to get there. And building that time in is not unproductive. It's actually more productive, but we just need to learn to do that.
Yeah, because you end up getting to your desk with all of the coffee and no waste.
Right. Or you get to the doctor's appointment early and you sit for 5 minutes extra. But while you're sitting there for 5 minutes extra, you could be on your phone, or you could close your eyes and take a 5-minute nap. So it's really not wasted. And we actually talked about that a while back, about changing the route and building more time into my daily errand schedule, putting less errands in the day and building more space more time between each of the errands, so that, if I have an extra 15 minutes before it was time to visit my mom and I have to sit there and wait before I can go in or whatever, I could actually use that time productively still after I get there, rather than trying to cram all these things into my schedule, put less things in my schedule, and then use the time, the extra time, when it actually does occur. So that's kind of a goal setting, productivity tip there, maybe. I don't know. It's a complicated question, and I'm really anxious to hear what you guys have to say. I'd love it if you'd come over on the blog or on the Instagram or our Facebook group. We'll have links on the blog. Go to modernmusings.net, and we'll have all the links there where you can contact us and share with us your thoughts on overfilling your cup. So, coming up next week on the blog, we're back to our book about Eckhart Tolle.
We will be looking at chapters 3 and 4, and we will be discussing that. So if you are following along with us on the book, check out chapters 3 and 4, and if you have any questions, hop on over to our website and give us any questions you have. We will get back to you guys next week and continue discussing our book. Also, we want to give a shout out to Rimshot Graphics, Creative Audio Tech, and
Red Door Studios for our music, our artwork, and all the equipment that they rent to us, and all the assistance with our audio. You guys are great. We appreciate it very, very much. And we also have links for those guys over on the blog. So if you're in need of any of that stuff, head on over to the blog and you can
check them out.
And I think that's it for this week. And thanks for listening. We're so glad that you joined us.
Yes.
We do appreciate you. And come on over and continue this conversation. We really, really want to hear what you have to say.
And don't forget, we also have a Facebook group, MMC Chat. So please join that group and
come chat with us.
Yeah,
we would
come
love
chat with us. Shout out to us.
Yeah, we would love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.